Hello and welcome to A Day in My Life. My name is Macy and I'm so glad that you're joining me today. I own a micro bakery and I am also a mom to two toddler girls. They are 2 and 3.5, and this is what my life looks like pretty much every Thursday. So if you are new to the concept of micro bakeries, this is actually my house that you're seeing right now. I have a room dedicated to my bakery. I operate under cottage food laws, which is what makes it legal for me to sell goods that are made in my home and not in a licensed commercial kitchen. And cottage food laws vary drastically depending on what state you live in the US, and also depending on what country you live in if you are listening from outside of the United States. So if you are curious about how to start a micro bakery or get licensed under cottage food law, you would have to reach out to your local health department to get more details. But in Illinois, they make it pretty easy. I had to apply with my local health department and take a course, and now I'm able to bake and sell bread straight from my house. I love sharing what my days look like, both as a micro bakery, but also as a mother, because obviously that is a lot to balance. Having two toddlers that are only 18 months apart is already a busy life, and then to mix this in on top of it can certainly be a lot. So it's just an honor for me to be able to come alongside a lot of other aspiring mothers who are interested in doing something similar and sharing the things that I learn along the way. I have been running my micro bakery for about 1.5 years, and currently right now I sell around 100 loaves of bread per week, along with some other things like scones and cookies. So it is a whole production here. I have a bread oven, as you can see to my left in the video right now, and that is a Simply Bread oven. I do have a discount code with them. If you guys are interested, you can feel free to reach out to me. But it's a whole thing. I have a commercial mixer that you can kind of see peeking out in the right of the video right now. And I also have a big old fridge in this room. It is so fun and such a creative outlet for me, on top of being a very helpful thing for my family financially. It has blessed us a lot. And so I'm excited to kind of show you guys what a typical Thursday in my life looks like. Another thing that I want to specifically talk about today is how I balance the schedule of my bakery while also being a mom, and just giving some tips and tricks along the way that I have learned that have helped me prioritize the right things and make sure that my girls are really well cared for. I am a stay-at-home mom. My husband does work from home full-time, which is incredibly helpful. He obviously is working during the day and is not always readily available, but there are definitely times where he can kind of swoop in a last minute pinch and help me out if I need it. He also tends to help me on his lunch breaks whenever he's able, which is incredibly helpful. And so I'm definitely not doing this alone. Also, in the last month, I hired an assistant who's also my sister. She's sitting next to me and just made the craziest face, but having that change has been incredibly helpful as well, and just alleviating some of the stress that I have on my shoulders and freeing me up to be with my girls a little bit more. But even so, there are a lot of things that I've learned along the way that I think could be helpful to some moms that are interested in starting something similar. As you saw at the beginning of this video, my days start very, very early. My bakery runs on a Tuesday through Thursday cadence for the most part. So Tuesdays are my prep day. My assistant makes all of the cookie dough and all of the scone dough, and then I do packaging and labels and some pre-measuring of flour for the next day. And then Wednesdays are my dough day, where I mix up all of my bread and shape it up, get it stuck in the fridge, and prepared for the next day. And then Thursdays, which is what you're seeing today, is when I bake everything up and then it is picked up by my customers. So my number one tip for people that are wanting to start a micro bakery who also have kiddos at home with them is to find a schedule that works for you. So for me, it is always ideal for me to get the bulk of my work done before my children are awake for the day. They are really good sleepers. They typically sleep from 7:30ish to 7:30 in the morning. And so I can rely on them to, for the most part, be pretty consistent in that. And so I try to get most of my work done before they're awake for the day. So for me, what that means is waking up at 3 in the morning to bake all of my bread, because even though I do have my bread oven, I am still baking 100 loaves. This oven can bake around 12 to 15 loaves at a time. And so it is quite efficient and I love it, but I do have to wake up really early if I want to get that work done before they wake up. On top of that, I bake that early so that everything has a chance to cool before I package it up. I offer pickups in multiple locations in my area. So I do a porch pickup from my house, and then I have 3 other pickup locations, and my sister takes care of delivering those things to the other locations and stuff so I can stay home with my children. But I just need to make sure that I can actually have it packaged by around 11 a.m. so that everything can get to where it needs to go. As you just saw in the previous clip, I am very tired when I wake up at 3 a.m. And to be honest, for the first couple batches of bread that I put in the oven, I definitely just fall back asleep on the couch and set alarms. So maybe not the best thing to do, but that's just what happens sometimes when you're starting that early. I do try to go to bed by 8:30 on the days that I know I'm going to be waking up so early in the morning, but that doesn't always happen either because life is busy. On top of running my micro bakery, obviously I'm also doing social media stuff. So I have this YouTube channel, but where I started was over on Instagram, and I'm really active over there. So if you guys want to join the fam, feel free to follow me. I do lots of like real-time updates and a lot more micro bakery content over there as well, and some more practical how-tos and things like that instead of these more long-form days in the life. All of my orders are done on a pre-order basis, so everything that I'm baking right now has already been paid for by my customers. I use a platform called Hot Plate, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. If you're interested in starting a micro bakery, it is incredibly helpful. It's very easy and streamlined for my customers to use, but then the best part about it is that customers can sign up for text messages to be notified every time you open a menu. So for me, my menus always go live on Saturdays at 10 a.m. and I have almost 900 people signed up to get text messages every single time my menu opens. And so it's basically just marketing built into an ordering platform because I don't have to work very hard to notify my customers that bread is available to be purchased, which is amazing. So it's nice baking and knowing that everything has already been paid for. I don't have to worry about whether I'll sell out or not. I have done markets in the past, but I mainly just do them more for the community building aspect instead of like making my main income from them. And that's mainly just because doing my porch pickups is significantly easier for me, not needing to transport most of the bread. Like I said, my assistant does transport some of the bread to the other pickup locations, but at least I don't have to like sit there for a few hours like I would at a market. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I definitely do sleep a little bit even while my bread is baking when I wake up at 3 a.m. But typically around like 5:30, I'm trying to get myself a little bit awake and trying to get the ball rolling. So you can see here that I fixed my hair and I'm pouring a cup of coffee. I really try to make a habit of eating something soon after I wake up. My goal would be to eat something within 30 to 60 minutes after I wake up in the morning, but I am often still barely awake. And I do not feel like eating anything, let alone cooking anything. So some days you just start with coffee and that's how it has to go. So I'm enjoying my coffee. As you can see, I also started my day off in a dress. It's just easier for me to get myself dressed, get in the mindset of working hard instead of like staying in my pajamas, because then I just feel sluggish and not really motivated to do anything. So in the clip right now, I'm just doing some back end stuff to make sure that the pickups run smoothly. Obviously, when you have like 60 plus orders to keep track of, and they're all pre-orders and all of the pickup locations are not manned, they have to be labeled really thoroughly so that everybody grabs what they're supposed to grab without messing things up, because if somebody were to grab somebody else's loaf, it's kind of like a whole spiral downhill from there. So when I package my loaves, which you'll see later, all of the bags have names on them of who is grabbing what, and so I try to just stay as organized as possible to make it super smooth and easy for me. Another tip that I have for parents that are wanting to start a microbakery while still having children at home is to learn when it is more valuable to ask for help. So, like I said, my bakery runs on a Tuesday through Thursday basis, and for the most part, with the schedule that I have going, I am able to be with my girls almost the whole time. Generally on Wednesdays from around 9 a.m. until noon or so, my assistant/sister watches my girls for me while I'm shaping dough, and that's really the main time that I don't feel like I can divide my attention properly. And for me, with the amount of profit that I'm able to make from my business, and also the fact that I can stay home with my girls pretty much full time minus those 3 hours, it makes so much sense just to ask for help. And that can be a really hard thing. I know that I really struggle with the concept of having people help me with my girls. I value very much my role as their mother, and I never want really any job that I ever do to become more important than that. And there was a period of time where it felt like if I asked for help, then I was saying that my bakery was more important than them. And that is just simply not true. I think that the reality of life is that there needs to be provision in different ways. And so the way that I'm able to bless my family financially through running my bakery while also doing something that I love and that I'm very passionate about is such a huge blessing. And for me to give my girls a few hours with their aunt every week is also so precious and so sweet. And so I just had to challenge myself to kind of change my perspective on how I was thinking about asking for help and humbling myself and making sure that I had my priorities straight, because the reality is I would much rather have them have 3 hours with their aunt instead of no time with somebody else and me scrambling and not really caring for them properly or making them feel like they're a distraction to me and all of those things. So it's certainly a balancing act, and one encouragement that I will give to people is that these skills are absolutely learned over time. It almost was harder when I first started my micro bakery and I was baking way less than it is now, because now I have a lot of skills honed. I've found a lot of rhythms that work for us, and I've just honed my expertise that I didn't have when I first started my bakery. And so I remember many weeks of just feeling a little bit frazzled, questioning myself, like, is this the right thing? And slowly you just adjust and you find your new normals and things level out. But always keeping at the forefront of my mind that my priority is my role as a mother, and it always will be. But give yourself grace if you are trying to do this and it's feeling hard. Keep working hard to find a rhythm that works for you. And the reality is that maybe what I do won't work well for you. I like to wake up early and get it done. That is just what works best for me. But I know a lot of people that would rather stay up late at night and then sleep a little bit longer in the morning, or whatever it may be. It's all just about finding what works best for your family. Another encouragement that I would give to parents looking to start a micro bakery would be to make sure that you have a healthy work-life balance. And I am preaching to the choir here because I am definitely not perfect at this, but I really try to challenge myself to remember that when I'm working, and when I'm not, I'm not. And so I want to make sure that when I am with my children and when I am primarily working as their mother, that they have my attention in that way. And that doesn't mean that I'm just like sitting there playing with my kids all day long. That's definitely not the case. But I don't want to have my brain pulled in so many different directions that my kids never really feel like I'm paying attention to them. I think that all of us can remember at some point as a child maybe feeling that way, whether it was from a parent or just another adult that you wanted their attention and could not get it. I want to make sure that my children feel like they're being seen by me and that I'm not always putting them in second place. So I try to set good boundaries for myself. I try to set some work hours for myself. I work before they wake up. I work during their nap/quiet time in the afternoon. And then sometimes I'll work in the evening, but generally I don't. I like to try to reserve that time for just hanging out with my husband and just enjoying life and not working and working and working until I die. But when you have a micro bakery, obviously your work is at home, which is a blessing and a curse. There's always something to be done, especially with social media. I know that social media is not something that everybody would choose to do if they had a micro bakery, but it certainly is a part of my life, and it takes a lot of intentional effort for me to say, nope, I'm not going to think about this right now. I'm just going to live in the moment and enjoy my family. On this particular day, my girls slept so well. I don't know if you can tell, but it's so dreary and rainy out in this video. Right now, what you're seeing, it was like 7:30 a.m. and normally it's very bright, but it was still so dark because the rain clouds were so intense. But when my girls sleep this well, I think that when I was filming this clip, it was like almost 8 o'clock. And so I was kind of getting started on breakfast so that it was ready for them before they even came down for the day. My girls do share a room, so that's kind of fun. And oftentimes, even when they do wake up, they'll just kind of like hang out together before we go get them from their bedroom. But I am baking some bacon, which if you're not baking bacon, then you need to be baking bacon because it's way better than frying it on a pan. I don't like being splattered with hot oil personally, and this is just so much easier. So I recently, actually, this is so random, but I recently got a new baking sheet from the brand Caraway because I had been using the oldest, crustiest baking sheets that I had gotten from literally when my husband and I got married. And so I've been thoroughly enjoying that. And my husband came down for the morning at this point too. He does not rise quite as early as I do, but he typically wakes up at like 6:30 or so, and he wanted to surprise our girls and go get them donuts this morning. So that is what we were talking about right there. And he's the best. His name's Ian. I'm sure that if you've been watching my videos, you've seen him around, and you will continue to see him around because he is my best friend. So we stuck some bacon in the oven, and I also made some scrambled eggs. And then this shot right here that you're seeing, those are all of the cookies and scones that I'm selling this week. I actually bake those the day before pickup because the freshness stays just as good as if I were to bake them the same day. And I literally don't have time to bake them on Thursdays. So I baked those yesterday evening and then packaged them up, and those are ready to go. Then he came back and kept going on breakfast, just made some scrambled eggs. I recently just got some new stuff for my kitchen. I also got, as you can see right here, this is the Always pan from Our Place, which I feel like if you're on social media, you've probably seen this before at some point. But I really like it. It's a non-toxic, non-stick pan. I'm normally a stainless steel girly, but I wanted to just get something fresh and new. And you can't see in this video because it's so dang dark, but it's this like beautiful sage green color, and I love it so much. Finally, we actually have some sunlight. It is about 8 o'clock in this clip now, and I'm getting ready to bake my sandwich loaves, and I had a little visitor. This is my 2-year-old Junie. She came down to give me a hug, and she's so cute in her little jammies. But I am, like I said, about to bake the sandwich loaves. This is a separate recipe from my classic sourdough loaves. It is enriched, and it uses a method called a tangzong, which is a Japanese baking method where you cook a portion of the flour in milk, and then you add that kind of like paste to the dough while you're mixing it, and it makes the dough really soft and fluffy without having to add any butter to it. So this is a staple for my family. We always have this in our house, and I actually share that recipe along with my classic sourdough recipe and a couple others in my sourdough ebook. I do have that linked below, and I do actually share like legitimately the exact recipes that I use in my bakery. So if you're curious, those are available down in the description below. Now that both of my girls are awake, I was finishing up here in the bakery and I had already plated up the girls' breakfast since I prepared it before they came down for the day. So I try to always stay like one step ahead of myself, just so that I know that my girls are taken care of while I'm trying to finish things up in this bakery room. The room that I have my bakery in is kind of just across the way from our dining room, which is nice. It's technically, I think, like a formal living room. I think that that's what it's supposed to be, and that's what the previous owners of this house used it for. But it's so perfect for my bakery. It has amazing, beautiful lighting and a big bay window, and it's the perfect size. And if we didn't have a micro bakery, I don't really even know what we would use this room for because it's pretty closed off. I think that if we weren't using it for a bakery, we probably would have knocked down a wall to open it up to the main living room, but it worked really well for us. So I am so thankful for this space. We just moved into this house at the end of June, and we literally doubled the space that we had, which was such a blessing. And in our previous home, I was using just like our normal dining room for all of my baking. My refrigerator was in the basement, so I had to carry all of these loaves downstairs on dough day and then all the way back up the stairs on my bake day. It was very physically exhausting and just quickly became impractical for our family. So when I was doing like 50 loaves a week, it was way more manageable. But there came a point, especially since my husband works from home full time, that there just was not enough space. Our old house was only like 1,300 square feet, and we loved it so much. We were really sad to move, but at the same time, it's been hard to miss our old house because this house serves our needs so much better. Our girls have so much more room to run around, and it is so lovely. So in this clip, you see I'm just tidying up a little bit. We use cloth diapers, and so I was putting the clean cloth diapers down into the basket. Also, last weekend we had a birthday party for my youngest daughter, and I still have like stuff laying around for that. So I had like one of those balloon blower up things that I needed to put into the basement. And then my assistant arrived at 9 o'clock. This is my sister Dulcie. You'll see her around. She doesn't like being on camera very much, but I force her to because she loves me. So she is packaging up the bread here. We have one person who hosts a pickup come and pick their goodies up around 10:30 or 11 every Thursday. So we always start with her stuff so that it's ready to go. And then we package everything else up. So this takes a while. It's kind of a tedious job, but it's not too bad. And, you know, we listen to music, we talk, hang out, drink our coffee, and bag up all of the bread. This is a task that primarily my sister does for me, so I am hanging out and momming with my girls while she is bagging up all the bread and getting it ready. And then, of course, there's always the cleanup. The cleanup is no fun, but it's essential. When you bake this much bread, you end up with crumbs everywhere. So we kind of have like our little closing chore list that we do. So, you know, all the normal things, wiping down counters, vacuuming, mopping, cleaning surfaces, yada yada yada, taking out the garbage, things like that. So like I said earlier, I have multiple pickup locations, so keeping all of the orders separate is super important because I need to make sure that everything that was ordered is at the right location. So I oftentimes use these bins that I actually use to like mix my dough and stuff, just to keep all of the bread and orders separated, and so that my sister can just grab bins really easily and put them in her car when she has to deliver them to the various locations. As a mom, it's always been very important to me to encourage independent play in my children, and I feel like the concept of independent play is a difficult one because either your children are good at it and you're like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying, or you're probably listening to me thinking like, oh my goodness, my kid won't play by themselves more than 5 minutes. And I very much so sympathize with you. My girls are not always good at playing on their own, but sometimes they are, and especially as they're getting older, since they're so close in age, they are really good playmates and they definitely entertain each other, at least for a little while. But that's another tip that I have for parents looking to start a microbakery, I don't think that it is going to be very easy for your family unless you can teach your children the beauty of independent play. And the reality is that not only is it helpful for you, but it's also so good for their brains to learn how to play by themselves, to learn how to handle boredom and not always feel like they need to be entertained by their parent. I think that the concept of parental entertainment is very overly common in our culture nowadays. But the reality is that I am a mom, but I'm also a homemaker. I'm a wife. I have responsibilities of taking care of my home. I have responsibilities of taking care of my business now. And those are good things. And it's good to teach my children that those are good things. And so there comes a time where I have to say, girls, mommy has stuff to do around the house, so you need to play by yourself. And that comes with practice, right? It's not always easy. And there are certainly days where I know, you know what, some things need to be paused and I just need to focus on my kids today. But for the most part, as a general rule of thumb, I would really encourage independent play, and maybe I can do a video a little bit more on how I encourage that for my children in a different video. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments below. At this point, we are kind of wrapping up here. Everything is packaged. I set up a little pickup station underneath a tent in my driveway. I'll show that to you guys some other time. I couldn't get any clips of it today, mainly because it is rainy and dreary, like I said earlier, and I was not about to bring my camera outside. But my sister is getting ready to leave with all of the other location stuff, and then we can rest a little bit. So I am so thankful that you guys joined me on today's video. If you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up and make sure that you subscribe as well for any future videos that I post. Subscribing, liking, commenting, all of those things are incredibly helpful to me and are just small ways that you can support my channel. It really helps the YouTube algorithm if people engage in my posts. So make sure that you also follow me on Instagram if you want more like real-time updates on life and such, along with a little bit more hands-on and in-depth stuff about micro bakery life and just life in general. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much.